Okay, my name is Brant Hunt. Today is the 7th day of January 2021. And my title of my talk today is How to Develop Good Relationships with a Man and a Woman. Uh, this is a critical issue, I think, for people who are younger than me. I think it's critical how relationships can get kind of laid the right foundation. That is the guy and a girl. I think it's important that you understand these things, and um, so you can have a lasting relationships. What are your goals in a relationship? Well, one of the things I think is the goal is that you would have harmony with one another. And before I continue on, I do want to make people aware that I have a YouTube channel, discerning what is true. So this particular is aired not only live with Facebook, but eventually it will be on my YouTube channel, discerning what is true. And I've done probably at least 60 probably broadcasts here in the last less than a year. And so, if you have interest in economics, interest in foreign affairs, interest in history, interest in spiritual issues, interest in what is occurring that is now in astrology, then you can go over there and look at these things. How to lay the groundwork, how to lay a good foundation with a relationship? Well, one of the things you need to do is communicate, and you need to know what you want in a man or a woman. And you need to know that before you even enter a particular uh, a dating relationship. And I don't know if I want to call that a word dating, um, but a relationship with someone. And you need to know what is she like and what is he like. And some of the things you can do is simply test one another in certain situations. That is, a lot of times simply is to see how the person reacts under stress in given situations to find out simply is what they're like. You don't normally have to cause this. This is not something that's caused. It's just something that happens in a relationship, and to see how the other reacts. I know that simply is that I've dealt in the past with a relationship with a woman, and when she got mad with me, she just simply stopped talking. I have a problem with that. I know that's a learned behavior. I know that's a learned behavior to punish me, and it's not right. Sometimes men don't know what's going on. I'm not saying, and sometimes women don't know what's going on. And so when people decide to, lack of a better word is they don't communicate, they decide to punish you. Usually they've learned this from their parents or from someone else close to them, and they just clam up. They don't talk, and they decided already that you're going to be punished for this, whatever you did wrong. It doesn't work that way, folks. You got to communicate. You got to share. You got to be open. I think a lot of this could be also to deal with what I call trauma in relating to one another. That is, that is how her or his parents dealt with it. That is, something goes wrong and you don't like it, and you clam up. You don't talk. So the whole situation with the relationship is put on ice because you're not one partner's not communicating to the other, and that doesn't allow dialogue. That doesn't allow a way of actually solving the problem. This is like someone in a boat, and you're both together, and one decides that there's a plug in the boat that keeps the water out, and the one partner says, "I'm going to pull the plug and let the water come in, and we're both going to go down together," because that's what you're doing. you're sacrificing not only yourself, but the other person too. You're hurting people's feelings, and you're doing this to hurt someone. When reality simply is, when you do that, you're not solving the problem. You're actually exacerbating the problem. You're making it worse. And you're creating friction, and you're creating a wall. And it doesn't work that way in relationships. So if you do that, you're going to have to learn how to deal with that before you get in a relationship with anyone. Listening and communicating are important. And when I say communication simply is to be the dialogue, to understand what's going on. So if these things happen in an early dating relationship, you already know the warning flags, and either partner needs to understand that this person has a problem. And you really actually need to back out of the relationship because of that. Because that's not, usually these people are determined to hurt someone else, and they want to punish you. So that doesn't exactly solve the problem of anything. It maybe simply is a comment that's said, or something more serious, and people react this way, and the other partner is completely doesn't really understand what's going on. Sometimes they may have done it on purpose. It's true, maybe so, but that doesn't mean you simply clam up. You need to understand simply is what direction you want the relationship to go. That is, what are your plans? What are your hopes and desires? What do you want to manifest in this relationship with a partner? Do you need to talk about issues such as how many children are you going to have? Are you going to have children? How is that going to be? What about the discipline of the children? What's going to transpire? What's going to take place there? Are you going to be like your parents in some ways, very punishable? That is, my parents were that way. Or are you going to be more lenient, or something in the middle? And the other thing simply is that how are you going to have pregnancy? That is, how is a woman going to have children? That is she going to go to the hospital, or is she going to have her baby at home? Because you need to ask these questions before you actually enter into a relationship that is a deep relationship, either to live together or to be in marriage. My thinking simply is a marriage is a state ordeal and a church ordeal. I believe it simply is, if we're both partners are adults, that is, they're grown up in their relationship, they make a commitment to themselves. They don't need to make a commitment to the church, and they don't need to make a commitment to the state. If you truly want to be truly free, you relate in this way. That is, you quote unquote say, we relate one another. My commitments to you, your commitments to me. Both partners need to understand how they just share their love. In other words, one partner tends to be a leader sometimes. The other partner usually is a follower, supposedly. Can be women can actually handle the books and the checkbooks, such and such, or the men can do that. You need to understand that those things are important. Money is a major deal, because money is one of the reasons why people actually break up. In fact, most people get a divorce based upon money. This is for younger people. This is for you guys who are, your 20s and 30s. For someone who's been through a lot of this. Now, I have never been married. I've never found the right person. So I never committed myself to the person I was going to marry, because I didn't see the purpose of actually making a commitment to someone who I felt was not worthy of that. And it's been the other way for the other person too, if I've actually been in a relationship with someone else. A lot of these things happened when I was actually in the church. So I may have a different perspective that when I was in church, that is, I looked for someone who had a commitment to God and the belief system. I don't subscribe to that anymore. I don't. I think it's important that both partners have a deep spiritual interest. Indeed. I think that's one of the major things that needs to take place in a partnership, is that both are interested in a deeper need in the spiritual category. They need to be honest with one another. They need to be responsible. They need to be responsible. That is to be honest in a relationship. If you fail, state it. Be honest. You screwed up. Do it. Don't cop out. Don't act like a little 3-year-old and say it's her fault or his fault. If you done wrong, you done wrong. Because if you don't do that, the relationship's not going to go any further. Because there's going to be questions as simply as, can I trust this person anymore? And those are questions simply as if the man or a woman has actually done something and that actually causes a failure in the relationship that is no longer being trustworthy. Then what is the other partner going to do? Is the partner going to trust this person again or not? And part of that simply is that the confrontation or the need to be straightforward with the other partner. If not, there are going to be some hurt feelings here on one side. And if you don't deal with it and take the responsibility, I think this is really critical for people today. Everybody wants to be a victim. Sorry, guys, it doesn't work that way. You don't grow up that way neither. You have to take responsibility in a relationship. Usually the man is the one who takes the ball and picks it up. Usually he's the one who pursues the woman, probably 8 out of 10 times, not always, depending on who and what his personality is like. And so that he, takes the ball and runs with it. He pursues her. It's not always that way, but most of the time it is. That's just the way men are. They're supposed to pick up the ball and run with it and pursue someone if they desire that person. And some things that men struggle with simply is that they tend to look on the outward part of a woman, and a woman knows that, well aware of that the outer beauty tends to draw a man to her. But the staying power in a relationship is not going to be on the outward part. You see, it's going to be what's inside, what both persons are like. And you decide simply is that what you compromise with and what you don't compromise with. You need to understand simply is that what you can let go can go, but what's important is important. How does a man want to be treated? And how does a woman wants to be treated? What are the ways that basically a man needs the love from another woman, from his partner? How does that work out? Most men don't do well when they're criticized. They just don't. It's a tough enough job sometimes in being responsible to have someone who's criticizing you all the time. Most people, I don't care who you are. It doesn't mean even a man or woman. Someone is criticizing them all the time. The relationship is not going to work. And that's both sides. It's not just a woman criticizing. It's the men can be the same way. Both sides are at fault here. So I'm not choosing any sides here. I'm not against women. I'm not against men. I just know simply that men make mistakes, and I know that women make mistakes. So what are your goals? You see, you need to write these down on paper. And a lot of times you need to discuss them with the one you really are interested in. So you see, you can't fly by the seat of your pants here. You can't fly by the seat of your emotions, because your emotions go up and down. You know, one day you feel great about the person, the next day you feel, well, what happened to me? I made a mistake here. You see, so you're going to have to understand that simply is that there are going to be ups and there are going to be downs in a relationship with a partner, and you need to know how to deal with those. I think what really what I saw with my parents is that they fought on over little stuff, but there was a deeper. They fought over little things, but in reality, it was a deeper problem. The problem I see with my father and my mom were a couple things that stood out, and I'll explain these to you. My father was very strong in certain ways, too strong. He didn't know how to love anybody because I don't think he knew how to love himself. And he only way he knew how to handle the relationship was to control the person. So he tried to control my mom. And my mom didn't like that, naturally, because she saw through that. But my mom made some mistakes too. She knew, even on her wedding day, that she didn't need to marry him. You see, she knew. The other red flag simply was that parents didn't come to the wedding or to the justice of peace at all. That's a red flag, folks. If your parents are not at your wedding, that's a super red flag. That means you need to wait and find out what's going on here before you marry someone or decide to live with someone, or else you're making a critical mistake, because most parents do at least do see things that you may not see because you are caught up in the emotions of love. And so my mom knew. My mom also listened to a pastor that basically said that, once you're married, you got to follow him no matter what. I don't agree with that, but that's what her stage was in her life, is that she believed that and felt that he was a man of God. Now, you got to understand simply is both my parents claimed to be Christians, so that's their perspective. That was their belief system. Most people don't, well, I would say probably now, most people, if they have issues in a relationship, usually they try to work it out themselves, or they go to a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, which way you want to call it. I don't know if that's good or not, neither. If you can solve the problems yourself, it's to your advantage to do that. I think it's just simply is that for me, it simply is that someone who has a heart, who's real, who's genuine. And I think that simply is that you manifest that. If that's what you desire in a woman, as I do, is someone who you can be intimate with, then that will manifest, if that's your desire. And you'll know it. This is all new to me. I haven't really been into this stuff a whole long time. That is only basically about a year. So I'm understanding these things, trying to figure them out. But in reality, simply is uh, both partners in reality want someone to understand them. They want to be loved, and they want it to be genuine. And so what they need to do is simply is they need to manifest that. They need to manifest what they desire at this point and want in their life. And if it's to be, it will be. It will manifest. It will take place. You see, I think the key is simply is the heart. The heart's the key of the whole thing. I learned something from someone recently about this. Very a person who had some wisdom is that simply is that the heart is by far the most important thing in a relationship between each other. And the heart's also part simply is the intimacy that takes place between two people. And we're told the opposite today simply is jump in bed and that's intimacy. Well, yes, it is in some ways, but not on a deeper level. And that will cause a rise in people because most people think that that's intimacy. It isn't, folks. It's not. You know, yes, intimate, that is, you're in bed with another woman or another man. But in reality, simply, that's not intimacy. That's on the physical level. That's not with the heart, you see. And if it truly is from the heart, then you will enjoy one another in bed, period. But if it's not intimacy there, then you're not going to exactly have intimacy there in the bed, neither, because it goes together, you see. And so what you're looking for, if whatever you're looking for, you manifest that out to the world, you see. That's what you desire. That's what you want. And that person, if you're desiring the right thing, that person will come in your life. If not, if you may not be truly true to who you are, you see. This is all to help people who are younger than me. I'm 60 years old, so I'm not a young kid anymore. I've been around the block a few times. And so I'm trying to share my wisdom to those out there who are younger than me, who one day may find me on the internet and say, I'm looking for something deeper. There are a lot of hurting people out here, folks. A lot of hurting people. A lot of people with a lot of traumas too that have been hurt. But it's important to basically, how to love someone in a way that can help them. Neither partner is perfect. Both partners are going to have issues. They may have also traumas. And so part of that whole situation with intimacy is simply it's a building of trust between one person to another. It doesn't occur overnight. Someone may decide they need someone simply is that they can trust to share their heart, their hopes, their disappointments. Are you going to be that kind of man or woman? Because none of us are perfect. You also need to understand you have a goal to pursue. You need to have a goal. What do you want in this relationship? There's some people simply just want to get in bed and have sex. That's what they look at. No, that's not for me. That's to me, that's a joke. But that's what certain people do want. So you need to make sure. So you need to understand what you want in relationships and what you manifest. And you need to also practice what you quote unquote preach. In other words, you need to do what you say you're going to do. Your word must be true. It must be true. You don't lie in relationships. Because that's how you destroy trust. And especially men who go out and have a fling Doesn't exactly build a trusting relationship, does it? Or sowing wild oats, as one would say. And what you're doing, you're destroying something more valuable than you realize, because you're destroying trust. And trust is something that you earn, and you can destroy that very easily. And some people do that. People do that. They get off on that because they're sick, or that's what they've seen in their lives, and that's what they think is true, or they think that is love, when in reality that's not love at all. Love is tender, it's forgiving, but it also is not going to put up with a lot of shit. In other words, if you're playing games, it will say no more, because they will respect themselves and say, no, you're not going to do me this way. That's what people need to understand. This is so critical. Again, I'm saying this for the third time. You need to know what you want, and then you need to manifest it, desire it. That's what you need to do in order to see that in your life. And I believe it will happen. In fact, I know it will happen, you see, if you desire those things. But if you're just kind of happenstance and kind of riding along the boat here and not really knowing what you want, such and such, then you don't have any business in being in a relationship, period. If you don't know what you want, you have no business in any kind of relationship whatsoever. Because you know what? You damage people that way. You hurt people that way. If you don't know what you want, then you damage people. Part of that simply happens when you're really young, teenager, whatever, even in high school, maybe even early college age. People tend to make mistakes, but the point simply is you need to know what you want in a woman. You need to know what you want in a man. You need to look at your parents and see what you like and what they have. That is their strengths, but you also need to look and see their weaknesses and say, well, this is not what I want. Because if you don't do that, you could get hurt pretty bad. A lot of people don't, what's the word, get hurt in these relationships, and it takes them years to actually get over it. Both sides, men or women. Because there's trust, you see. There's someone else involved. And when you fail to someone live up to what you felt it was their honor and their trust and belief in them, and they failed you, then it really does affect your who you are. It affects your heart. And so that's why many men or women struggle, because after something of that nature happens, a lot of times this happens with, the other issue simply is with children. So I'm sharing these things not because I've been married or anything of that nature, but I've seen certain things, and I feel it's important that I share these things with you so that you don't go through those same things that maybe I went through. My standards were as a Christian in my background, simply were high. I was not interested in simply getting in bed with a woman. You see, that wasn't my pursuit. Never has been. You see, I had high expectations for myself, but I also had high expectations for the person who I dated. I wanted to marry or whatever type of thing. And I think there's honorable things. You need to be honorable. You need to be who you say you are. You need to be a man of integrity. You need to be a woman of integrity. You need to have character. You need to say, when you say something, it's the truth. You don't lie in relationships. You don't play games in relationship. You don't do this because, hey, I got burned by somebody in the past, so I'm gonna hurt somebody else. That's really a great idea, isn't it? To hurt others, to do damage to them because you got hurt. You can't bring that into a relationship, folks. You can't. Or you destroy the other person, and that person doesn't deserve that. It's all about your standards. It's all about your principles. It's all about the foundation. It's all about simply is what do you want in someone, but also simply who you are and how your character is. What are you about? What do you like? What do you like when she's not around or he's not around? Is your word true? Do you lie one another? Do you lie to each other? You cheat? Then you don't have any business in a relationship. Period. If you lie, you don't need to be in a relationship. You cheat on others, you don't deserve to be in a relationship with anybody until you grow up. Because you don't bring that crap into the relationship. You don't do that. That's just wrong. Yeah, I have high expectations because I expect that, because that's what I want and desire is. That's what I truly want. So I don't do people wrong. I don't do that. Because my character is at stake here and who I say I am. You see? It's easy to blame the other. Always is. So I just thought I'd share. I know I've done a couple of videos today, and I had many things on my mind today, and I wanted to share some things. And this was one of them I wanted to deal with simply with relationships. I will say this much, and this is something which I shared earlier. If you desire to be married, you don't need to be married for the state or the church. You make that relationship between you and the other person. You don't make it before some church, and you don't do it with the state. So I guess I call it simply a common law marriage or living together. But you do that with one-on-one. You don't do that with, oh, I got to get the state to come in and certify this, or the church to tell me I'm okay, No, you don't get your morals from the church. You get your integrity through who you are and what you will do and what you won't do. And if you compromise on things, you really don't have any business being in a relationship. If you can't be a one-man woman, and a one-woman man, you don't deserve to be in a relationship with anybody. You really don't. And that goes against counter to everything that most people are saying these days. But I'm sorry, folks. It doesn't, that's the commitment. That's how it works. There are those out here talking about simply as you can have many partners. Oh, really? Well, that's nice, but the other person may be more committed than you are. So you hurt people. So you create trauma. Where the hell do you think you get that from? I mean, people need to grow up here and be adults. Take responsibility. Instead of quote unquote, well, I just want to fling. I want to go over there, such and such. And reality simply is that you don't grow up. So I'd appreciate you listening today. I noticed it hadn't been many people on here, so apparently either this wasn't a subject people didn't want to hear, or they didn't like what I was talking about. I'm just sharing from my heart and trying to be real and trying to help those who are going to be younger, who are not younger, but they are younger than me. They need to understand these things, because simply is there are a lot of people who have gotten hurt because they didn't know what they were doing. They're flying by the seat of their pants. And they need to write things down and what they expect from their relationship with a woman or a man. You need to write these things. You need to have principles. You need to be who you say you are. You don't need to be playing games. If you're doing that, you don't need to be relating with anyone. You need to grow up. And yes, there are many people out here that want to say, well, you have multi-partners. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It doesn't. How can it? You're seeking one-on-one relationship. If you make love with a woman or a man such and such, and the woman gets pregnant such and such, it doesn't have a multi-parents. It has a mom and dad. And I know that goes counter to just about everything that's out there. But that's right is right. That's how you make a commitment to things in your life. If you want to play around, then you don't get in these kind of relationships because you hurt people. And you need to grow up. And grow up meaning simply is that you don't bring trauma into a relationship. You don't bring those things into hurting someone else. That's life. You can't blame other people, folks. It's you who made a mistake. You take responsibility for it. Most want to play the victim card. Well, you can play that card, but you never grow up. You'll never grow up. And reality is people will see you for who you are, and they won't want anything to do with you. They will stay away from you because you're playing the victim. And you can't bring those things in a relationship anyway. You may just share them, yes, but you can't bring those in there because you're going to destroy the relationship between you and someone else. Yeah, it's a very heart-to-heart deal here. I don't mince words with people. I don't play games. My word is my word. Character is the key. Integrity is key. And most women want men of integrity who have character and who say they're right. And they do. When they say yes, they do yes. When they say no, they mean no. Because simply that's how it works, you see, is to be responsible between one another. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. Hopefully you will ask some questions here. I hope I answer some of these questions. Maybe we'll do another one in the future. But I wish you a good day and have a good evening. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.